Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Metaverse Nomads podcast, where we love to talk about our favorite play-to-earn games. This week, we're going to be talking a little bit about some industry news and some Star Atlas ship Galactic asset offering and a TownHall. But before we do that, let's say hi to everybody. Fancy, how you doing today?
Yes, beautiful day. How guys?
Fantastic. Jesse?
Good to be here. Looking forward to it.
Ray, how you doing today, man? Oh, you're on mute, my friend.
Mute.
As I was saying, all these strategic developments taking place is very exciting.
Strategic developments taking place. Awesome. Well, I'm Banjo Samurai. We are 4 members of the 6. We have 2 people not with us today, but they're here in spirit and may be listening. I talked earlier about how we were going to get to Star Atlas, but I think before we do that, why don't we get into some industry news? And we will start with Axie Infinity with Ray.
Hey guys, so on the Axie Infinity front, we got the highest revenue app in all of crypto with a $300 million USD in the last 30 days and a 1.5 million daily active user to date. It might be more than that because this just dropped. This September development update dropped just the other day. And then it covered the Battles V2, which is pretty exciting. We've been waiting a long time for anyone in the community. So you're going to have the burner Axies, which are free to play. And you won't be able to earn any crypto from these burner Axies. So it's going to be free to play, but you won't earn any smaller potion or anything of the sort. And you're going to have to buy, I guess it's a trial just to test it out to see if you're interested in the game. And the last chapter of the PvE adventure mode with art concepts and are finally finished. So that was nice. And then you got the abilities, the stats and abilities are being worked on for the parts of the cards. So we're going to have some new stats and new abilities, and there's going to be complementing art and parts that are going to be introduced. And then we also have there's going to be so this is a point I made. There's going to be an old school feel to the cards. So they're going to look similar, but we're going to have some new mechanics to the cards. So that's pretty cool. And then you're going to be able to customize the team. They mentioned customization of team deck building. So nothing more on that. Interesting. And then just to finish up Battle V2, we have 70% of the new cards art is finished. So there's new cards, there's new art, and those are 70% finished. And now onto the land, which is a pretty interesting and exciting thing everybody's been waiting for a long time, is that there's a new game designer that joined the ranks of the team, which is pretty cool. It'll help accelerate getting everything done sooner than later. And we have crafting, building structures, and harvesting of resources, which is going to be a staple to any land gameplay NFT game. And another is, I think the last of that for land, because there wasn't much, was there's going to be almost like every other game as well, is going to be an open amusement park and with experiences and many mini games. So that might be released in 2022. That's just my speculation. And lastly, but not least, is the Ronin decks. So all you need to really know here is that there's 1 to 3 months it takes for a contract to be audited, and that's what Axis staking, the contract for Axis staking, that's what's been going on. So we don't know exactly if it's already been 3 months or if it was 3 months ago and they're just waiting to release it and they were already audited and ready to go. But it should be coming very soon because this has been in the talks for a long time as well. So promising things on the horizon for Axie.
So from a person who doesn't play Axie at all, does that mean people will be back to making money again, or is it changing the earnings dynamics that was there previously?
For the most part, just with a little, the ebbs and flows of every other market when it comes to tokens, you were always really able to play if you kind of invested. If you did it 3 months ago at the highs, you would have made your money back if you consistently played. And the markets fluctuate, but it's been profitable and it still is if you just look at the numbers and you keep up with the market. Prices have gone down. SLP has gone down. You're still able to earn more than any other game that pretty much out there with the amount of time you're going to put in. But yeah, it's still profitable. You'll still be able to make money. And once the burner Axies come out, we'll have another influx, I believe, of people who are going to enter the marketplace after testing the grounds and seeing the potential.
I got a couple of questions for you. So do you think that we've seen the bottom, so to speak, with maybe Axie prices and SLP, or is there still room to go?
There's going to be a bounce back with SLP, in my opinion. This is the lowest we've seen it in a while. It's not even supposed to be anywhere near what it is now, but because of the demand up until now and the additional use cases that are going to come, I guess, not just to small F potions, but to axes in general, there's going to be, I guess, it might be the low. I would say that we're not going to be here for too much longer, but not financial advice. Do your own research, and it's all looking pretty good for Axie Infinity and the whole space in general. It's a bullish space.
And one other question, like you mentioned land. How do you, I mean, I don't know how much is known, but how do you foresee land being used? What's going to be the primary use case for land in Axie?
Sure. So there's going to be kingdom building. It's an MMORPG. So we're going to have dungeon divers. Right? It's going to be a dungeon diving team faction war. There's only a quarter of the map that's released as far as land, and the other parts of the square, so to speak, are not going to be released for some time, and that hasn't even been talked about. But land is going to look like, essentially, you're going to be harvesting, almost like a Clash of Clans, where you can build out your land, and you can. There's going to be also an SDK which people can build on top of their own mini games. So there's going to be a lot going on as far as just the land gameplay. It's going to be defeating Chimera, right? Earning rare NFT drops, right? Harvesting resources, which all will be NFTs themselves on the blockchain, which are going to be tradable or swappable and into different on Ronin's own decks. So Ronin will have it has its sidechain, and everything is going to be in-house. So there's going to be not many fees that you'll have to pay at all, as you have 100 free transactions a day to do anything. Whether it's transferring, breeding, or I guess when land comes out, it'll be swapping in-game resources for one another, and it's gonna be fun because you'll be able to team up with people. You could be your lone, the lone wolf just going into dungeons. You're gonna be able to upgrade your Axie's abilities. Mystic Axies will have that level 4 to level up, and every other Axie is only going to be level 3 for each body part, and it's going to be fun. You'll be able to harvest resources, build your land out, invite people to come. You could open up a business just like in all these other NFT games that we're talking about. You're going to be able to just build out, and the larger land plots you have that are connected, the larger building and structure you'll be able to build. But it's all promising, and this, we know that there's going to be kingdom building and wars, so get ready for that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
It's always interesting to hear that, what's going on that end. What I've noticed is one of the biggest Axie influencers is now hyping Star Atlas pretty hardcore. And I'm wondering if some of that movement that he has in Axie, some of the people that follow him will push over to Star Atlas now. Do you think you'll start to see some movement to other games now that Axie's had this little dip?
Well, I just see everyone keeping up with the big players as time goes on. There might be some phases where they don't talk about Axie because the team is building and there's not much to talk about, just like we do here when there's not much going on with either Gala Games or an Illuvium. Because
is there anything ever going on with Gala Games?
But there's a lot going on, but just not. Yeah. But we can get whatever.
They're exchanging pie recipes.
Right. Yeah.
Kudos to everyone joining the space and developing in their own ways they see fit, and with their own marketing and business plans, because that's all the thing. But I see YouTubers adapting as fast as the space is growing. So you're not going to have just one person specializing. Maybe you will, but it's going to be to their disadvantage because there's so much growth to take advantage of, to learn and take part in these different games. Not necessarily investing. You don't necessarily have to invest in it. You can just learn about it and talk about it because it's all going to be a growing space and it's all exciting too. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of market share out there that's still untapped. There's no doubt about it. But it's curious because I think the crypto community is geared towards earning money. So I think you're going to see more flipping of games to the one that might be earning more money in the long term. It'll be interesting to see. I think there's game loyalists who will stick with something forever, and then there's people who are here to make money and will just go where the grass is green.
Sure. I think at some point groups of people or guilds or even an individual is going to have to, if they're working a job and they have children or whatever is going on in their life, they're going to have to pick one, because although you'll be able to make more by playing all these games within a day, just doing a daily quest or finishing a task or defeating a boss dungeon and earning rewards, you're going to have the flippers of the space. You're going to have the land investors. You're going to have the brokers. You're going to have all these different areas, which we have now in these particular games. And you'll be able to make money that way. So it's not just from playing. There's going to be all these different backdoor ways of making money, and people are going to go to whatever is most profitable at any given time. Because it will all change, and there'll have to be buffs and nerfs of and all these updates coming into these games because they're all new. There's going to be some OP levels and characters or skins, or it's going to be a wild west.
Massive exploit abuses.
Right. We can talk about. We could talk about.
Well, it's interesting because even as a guild, we've noticed us going from one game, seeing other opportunities that were closer or maybe even better, and looking at the full landscape instead of just being stuck in one. And I think a lot of that has to do with our mindset as far as how we look at play to earn games.
Yeah. On that note, I'd like to make a semi-announcement here that if you're invested in the crypto space, not even NFT crypto gaming, you're spread out. Your attention is spread out because you want to be where the next best, L2 solution. You're spreading your money out. But the same goes for NFT gaming. So if you have a guild that's just dedicated to just Star Atlas, for example, sure. But then it comes down to the plan and the execution of their plan. That gives you confidence to either stay in that guild or to just venture out and to find a new guild. But if you come across Rome, for example, although we have many games in our Discord that you have a channel to talk and chat with other people interested in the same games, we are not necessarily just focused and spreading our attention out via all these games. So I don't know what anyone else is saying out there about Rome, but just for the record, Star Atlas is where it's at. This is what Rome is focused on. So, just to make that point. Not one person outside of Rome can tell you that we're spread out and not going to succeed because we're interested in more than one game, because that wouldn't make any sense. As long as the execution and the plan is secure, then there shouldn't be any doubt. Because look at YGG. They have 20 plus games, and they're still doing great with whatever groups of people are playing within those games, and they have 50,000 plus members. So, depending on how large your guild is, and again how your plan and execution goes, it shouldn't be that much of a worry. I understand new people coming in want someone who's just focused 100% of the time on one task and one thing. But again, it's don't just use that as the governing force of ignoring one guild over another. We're very early. You should test the waters and dip your toes into many different guilds or games and see where it goes. But that's my mini rant.
Cool.
Well, I think it's a good point to bring up, Ray. I think as people are making their guild selections for these different games, they are looking at things and trying to decide if guilds are spread out between games. And I think the point you're making is Rome, we're interested in a bunch of different games, but we're 100% focused on Star Atlas and being a dominating force within the game. So, a group like YGG is going to get too spread out. Maybe even NFT to earn is going to get too spread out. They have to have the foundational game players in the metaverses that they invest in to really maximize their investments. But good call. I think, or anybody else have any thoughts about that at all? No? All right. No. So next we're going to talk about Illuvium. Fancy, what do you got for us?
Yeah, it's been a good week following the delayed gameplay trailer. So that was on the 30th. And on the 9th, they announced they have hit 100,000 members on Discord. The fact it's even more impressive is 3 days later, they're at 107,000. So that's almost double the size of Star Atlas still. So definitely shows there's still room for growth in all of the different types of blockchain games, and there isn't one winner, like you said, but there is definitely favorites. There was also 5 different new members elected to the Illuminati Council. Congratulations to all of them. Hope they do everything that they promised in all their applications. I know a lot of them were very impressive. Yeah, also got a load of pictures uploaded in the last week. We don't have all of them available right now because that could be a whole video of itself, to be honest. But this is one of the most interesting ones, I think. It gives you a feel of how the actual gameplay will play out. There are going to be different multiple stages of this. I know they are going to have like a smaller, it might be mobile version first or like browser game. I'm not too sure on that, but this is like the end product they want to go for. And yeah, it does look very impressive. Loads of different textures and yeah.
Yeah, the character quality is really good. You know, their models are gorgeous. I'm curious what your thoughts are in regards to why would they have so many more than a game that's equally a competitor in something like Star Atlas? Do you think it's just a question of marketing? Do you think they have cuter models? What do you think it is?
It's absolutely marketing. I've been following their growth since about 40 some odd thousand. And they were growing pretty consistently about 1,000 a day. And so you don't have that many people finding your Discord unless you're actively pushing people in that direction, which it seems they have been doing. I haven't seen any of their marketing campaigns, but that's it all steers in that direction. They're actively marketing their Discord.
Yeah, and what I see a lot of is a lot of people who relate it to Pokemon. So I think they might be drawing in that crowd as well as the next Pokemon. I've even seen some negative footage, or not footage, but negative media on the idea that this is a Pokemon clone. So I'm curious. I'm going to get invested once the game goes live because I love the way it looks. I think it's going to play great. I think it's going to draw a big community. I think it's going to draw a different community than some of its other competitors in the space, though, like Star Atlas.
That's funny. Their display right there looks like they have some Solano colors, but they're.
It is interesting. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, they do have a lot of different environmental pictures on their Discord, and just imagining how this could play out, it's really interesting. Like all the different biomes, all the different ideas, like plants in particular, just how they have so many like fantasy ideas like poured into this kind of in sci-fi. It's all very imaginative, and yeah, hopefully it all just fits together.
And they're not afraid of throwing some shade themselves, are they?
Definitely not. Yeah, that leads on to the next thing we want to show. So here you go.
My lord, you let him go?
It's too early in the day for killing princes.
That's hilarious.
That's a bold move.
That is a big flex. There's no doubt about it.
So that was posted to their Discord, and it does speak quite volumes to how they do market themselves. It is quite easy to just post something like that, and I'm sure it did get a lot of attention. It was did get attention in Rome, a couple chuckles as well. I like it.
Yeah,
So,
I can't.
you think it's done out of respect, or do you think there's a genuine rivalry building up there?
No, there was a I can't remember. I think it was like a podcast or something like that where the Illuvium, one of the brothers, went on it, and there was Michael from Star Atlas as well. There was no like bad blood or anything. They were kind of speaking the same language in a way, but just the way that Illuvium designed it is. I think Aaron was the one who said it. They don't want to make it so that a decentralized process is centralized. So they don't want to give all this power to the players and then all the guilds just collaborate and they have like the monopolies in the world or all the best spots to find all the alluviums, just things like that. So it doesn't look like a game where you will be able to participate on a large scale with, like, say, plus 10 people. I imagine there will be parties of like 5 10 perhaps, but the more, like the bigger they get into it, like with their fighting mechanics, you're not going to be able to have well, you may be able to have like 10 people on one side, 10 people on another, all of their illuviums fighting each other. That would be quite cool. But it does look very individually designed in a way. Does that make sense?
That was my take. Yeah.
Yep.
So there's no option for, let's say, a guild of 50 to fight one creature. You're going to be stuck down in smaller groups if you have a big guild.
Yeah. The more we talk about it, the more we're going to think of like cool ways that could be implemented, because that's what we do. But, yeah, like I imagine it would be quite cool if you needed 50 people, 50 illuviums, all like maxed out, to go and find like a legendary, and one of you gets to capture it. It's an awesome idea. That multiplayer could be cool. It's just in Star Atlas there is multiple different ways where you can collaborate and just participate as large collectives.
Awesome. I think the struggle for me is there's too many games for me to get into now, and then you spread yourself thin and can't be super successful in one. So I'm focused on Star Atlas for the time being, and I guess that's a good segue into Gala and the idea that many of us and many people in the community, just based on the prices on the secondary market, might be moving some of their money into other assets and other games. What have you guys seen on the market as far as assets for things like Mirandus?
Well, I think one of the big things that created a big shift in the marketplace, especially with the exemplar avatars, is that Gala didn't really announce that they were going to dump every last one of their avatars on the market. And again, these are the extremely rare, to the tune of 50,000. But they flooded the market with them. And so anyone that had them on the secondary market now doesn't really have the ability to move the way they could before. And we're seeing that you can actually pick up a lot of these exemplars for below the actual initial market price, and actually what you can buy them for in the Gala store now. So I think that was an interesting choice on Gala's part to make that call without even giving the community any notice, really. That's one part of it. The other part of it, I think, is simply that there's just been a lull in information. And when people have these assets, and when we see people literally getting kicked out of the community for consistently asking what these things do, you're sitting on an asset that you have no idea what its worth is, what its value is, what its potential future utility is. And when you haven't really had anything to get excited about in a long time, then people start looking to move to other projects that have their attention.
Yeah, I don't feel like we've been rug pulled yet, but I definitely feel like we were an investing component in the development of a game, right? We were further in the beginning of the pipeline as far as funding this project versus a project that's getting close to completion and we're buying assets for it. Similar to Star Atlas, right? We're going to see some action here. I think what you said about the toxic environment or the Discord over there, I say it's toxic. I don't know if you said it was toxic, but
I tweeted that it was toxic.
Oh, there you go. Well, it's like a bubble, right? And I think there's probably a lot of great people that work for Gala Games. This isn't a disparaging comment on the people. It's more on the methodology and the strategy that they're carrying of not really, they're calling themselves play to earn, although they're kind of drifting away from play to earn and just say blockchain gaming, which carries a different connotation, right? So maybe they're moving away from the play to earn idea. They have yet to demonstrate anything that is a play to earn game. You could call Townstar play to earn, but it's really tournaments, and you could do that with any game.
Right.
It's not something where somebody can go in and say, I'm spending an hour and netting this type of revenue for my time. So it'll be interesting if they switch over to the idea of just being a blockchain gaming company and move away from the play to earn. But like you said, there's not really much to share. They've shared a few sneak peeks in their private channel of different games. I won't go into what they are, but nothing that's really impressive so far. It's unfortunate to say because I want them to be successful. I think we all do because we have assets. We are node holders. Anybody have any other thoughts on Gala?
Yeah, I think anyone who purchased the node early is going to be a loyal customer because it's a system where they pretty much get free money for what they bought it for, because the price has vastly gone up depending on how early you got in. And this is going to be a general thing with all blockchains. You're always going to have the people who've already made their bag and they're happy with the company, and Yeah, the loyalists in a way.
I'll share a potentially unpopular prediction and projection. Actually, what I personally think took place. I do think that the Mirandus NFT sales was used as a capital raise. I think that their actual model is to create a network and attract game developers that don't quite understand blockchain and choose Gala as a partner. And I believe that the capital raise funded that. And I also believe that they're just now maybe moving from the ideation phase for Mirandus, and we will not. I bet all my Mirandus NFTs we won't see a playable alpha this year. They are so far delayed because they really haven't begun the actual game development yet. And it's because, again, it was used as a capital raise. So Gala, I'd love to see you prove me wrong on that, but everything that I've witnessed thus far suggests that that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, and one of the other things that I don't disagree with that, Jesse. I think you're spot on, and I may not have thought that originally. I think I had a different perspective up front over the first couple months, but the more I saw, I mean, I think anyone within Rome, or at least within this group, could see the history of my point of view on Gala, and it's gotten gradually more and more pessimistic, and I think that goes for a number of us because everyone was hyped for Mirandus, and everyone was into the idea of, I'm going to live in this town and make money off of this process here. And then it was like a fire hose of information, and then it turned into a straw. And now we're getting these, well, I guess we should just get into it. So there's now some sort of schism where our guild, when we go over there, there's already a preconceived idea that we're there to start crap. And I think that the server was already very defensive and protective anyway. But now somehow we're some sort of antagonist just for asking questions and not backing down when they try to push us down. So I think it'll be interesting to see how this dynamic wears out, because we all are still invested. We all still want to see the game succeed, but we're kind of not in love with the dev team right now.
Are we the baddies?
Are we the baddies? There you go.
Yeah, and you know, I think that it's an interesting comparison when we look at two different communities, and that's kind of where it really shows itself. You know, as we show up and saying, "Hey, we want to know how this works," and if that is welcomed, and they answer questions, and then you apply the same over here, and it's like you feel shamed and belittled for asking these things. That to me doesn't represent a healthy environment to understand why you're a supporter and what you actually invested in, what you actually purchased. You know?
Well, it's funny you say that, because as and this isn't a segue, but just a kind of a tag on, Michael Wagner from Star Atlas said on the TownHall this past weekend, he said, "I understand the urgency of your questions because everyone is invested in this game." And that was like, hallelujah, man. You're right. That's why we want these questions, why we're asking, why we might even ask the same dumbass question 3 different ways, because we're trying to understand about the game and how our money is going to generate money in a play to earn world. And I think that's the compare and contrast between Star Atlas and Gala Games. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I know there's procedures and systems in place and rules and all these things, and there's regulations, the SEC and the embargo of information for whatever reasons. But when it comes to people and their money, you know, that should be considered as a priority, because for the most part, it's a lot of the investors' money that are, like we said earlier, that are going into funding the game. Yeah, you could do some, you know, capital raises and whatnot and partnerships, and there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we're just not knowledgeable about too. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the Discord, it's a total different beast, and the culture there has turned into one that it's just not healthy long term. You know, it's almost like there's nothing else going on there other than baby pictures and food topics and what's being eaten or not. And then you'll have like this rally of excitement and a demand for emotes for a drop of a sneak peek, but it's just a almost, compared to other games, a normal development photo of what's happening in the game. It's just a photo,
spot on,
right? And or a video. And granted, we're grateful for these things because we want something rather than nothing. But again, my question last time was asked, is there anyone on the Gala team that are going out scouting and researching and taking notes on how culture in communities are being built outside of Gala itself? because it could be an echo chamber, just like Rome might be an echo chamber from the perspective of Gala members. But if you get to our Discord, you would be pleasantly surprised that it doesn't reflect anything of what we were or perceived as before you got to our guild and learned more about us as a guild. And the evidence is there because we're a part of different communities and different Discords, and this is nowhere near the experience that we ever had outside of Gala.
Anywhere else? Yep.
Anywhere else? Yeah. In my own personal life, in the NFT crypto space, we've been around. So as there's always some bad apples, right? But there's a lot of mods in a Gala Discord that paint the brush of all of Rome being this person or this type of character, when they themselves in the same sentence might say, but don't judge any of us purples as
Right.
gavel throwers or executioners, because that's not who we are. Look, you can't have one and not the other. It's contradicting, and it's not a nice look to anyone else who is just trying to get along and enjoy the game for what it is or what it will be.
They appear not to be able to make the distinction between working for Rome and representing Rome, because they kind of fall back on, well, I don't work for Gala. Or excuse me, I said Rome, but I meant for Gala. They say, I don't work for Gala, so that kind of allows them to be a little bit more like an asshole in the Discord. But then at the same time, Gala people aren't holding them accountable to how they're treating their customers. It's a really strange dynamic, and it seems to be given the green light from the top down because that's where the leadership is. I don't know if we need to talk about it unless anybody has anything else to say about it, but suffice to say, Gala, we want you to succeed, but you got to fix the customer service, man.
Yeah, and just on that note for the leadership, when it comes to Bitbender recently saying that he reached out and gave us an opportunity to have any one of them or him himself on the Discord, I don't know if this is obvious to anyone, but you shouldn't go to any person who has in their Discord name Rome next to it and say we invited or I extended an invitation and I didn't hear anything back, because that goes to show where it's just like there's leaders to a Discord. There's people in charge who take care of these things, and for you to just message anyone in Rome and then say I didn't get anything back. So are you really wanting anyone to come on? Or are you serious about it? It doesn't. And then when you talk down about us in the Discord, it doesn't make us look any better either, which we don't necessarily do on a daily basis at all. So yeah, but we are open again, which we will have other project members and devs or whatnot on our show, as we did with community members who and guild leaders from Miranda's ecosystem. We're definitely going to have Star Atlas ecosystem devs and leaders on the show. So stay tuned for that. There'll be announcements in the Discord. So click in the link in the description and you can join the Discord or in the previous video.
I'll just say this the most respectful way I can. It's an interesting concept when you tell somebody who has so much assets in your games, and we have a significant amount of assets in that game from a dollar perspective. That's your customer base that you're basically saying you're not good for us. And that's a lot of money that could be pulled out of your ecosystem and placed elsewhere, and a lot of future capital that's going to be placed elsewhere as well. So it's just an interesting dynamic. I mean, I don't think they're really looking at it that way. They just want to have a very authoritarian, protected environment. But on that note, let's go to something better. Let's get into Star Atlas. We had a lot of things going on this past couple weeks. We had the Galactic Asset offering. We had the TownHall 16. And I think one of the things that we didn't do yet that I think is worthy of doing out of respect for the game and the love that we're finding in this game is we really didn't watch the video and talk about the video that announced the Galactic Asset offering. So I'm going to play that in its entirety here for people who may not have seen it. We can talk about that video and then we can get into the ship offering itself. So what did you guys think about that? I know we've all seen it before, but even just watching it again gives me chills. What are your guys' thoughts?
I'm ready to go to the club.
What I find most impressive about it is that this was rendered in game in Unreal Engine. So that's not just a CGI built video there. That's actually the quality that the gaming engine can produce. And when I think about the history of gaming and graphics and how 47 years ago Pong came out, that's where we've gone in 47 years, from Pong, 2 paddles and a ball, a blip on the screen, to that. It's just incredibly impressive about what we will see in the years to come.
Yeah, I think it's really, really easy to pick a favorite moment from that video when the bass drops and the handlebars come out. Yeah, that's really cool.
And that's a great example of marketing, right? So it taps into so many different things, that the graphics look sexy, the music gets you motivated. There's anticipation as they move around the scene and look at the model. If that is what shows up in game for every vehicle, every character, every pet, that is going to be something that's never been seen in a game before. I have very high aspirations for the output, the video output of this game. If it can get to that level, it's going to have so many fans, and this is going to be a huge, IP for sure.
I see Grant here had an interesting thought about, what are our thoughts about outsourcing development of the game? Now, I'm not sure if you mean the game as a whole, or if you're talking about like the ship building and that sort of thing. I think that aspect is fantastic, because then you get these different designs that are clearly from a different conceptual base. And especially being that you've got all these different races between different factions. And so that probably will play a role in how the terrain and the different worlds look uniquely themselves as well. So I don't particularly have any thoughts or problems with it being developed that way. As far as the game being developed, because again, one of the things that I thought was interesting that Michael had shared, and it made me think about the gaming industry as a whole, including Gala, is that the foundation of this is built on an economic structure. And that is the most important ingredient in this whole game ecosystem. And it's why we're going to see a mini game come up here before the even 3D game has come out, because that's going to tap in and leverage this economic platform and infrastructure that they're building. So for me, I don't really have any thoughts either way on outsourcing development. It's the finished product I'm most interested in.
Yeah, I think the decentralized process actually speaks to everything that's in their ethos, right? They constantly talk about the decentralized nature of play-to-earn gaming and blockchain gaming, and that they're only going to have kind of an ownership stake for a certain number of years before the entire game is decentralized. So I think it just speaks to who they are as a company and what they're trying to accomplish, and it's going to set the tone for a lot of other dev companies as well. When you can, look in the state of the world that we're in right now, everyone's working remote anyway, or a lot of people are. So this is just an extension of working remote, and you're using a lot of contractors and maybe contracted organizations. I think that's very similar to how other games are built. We just don't see it. We've never been exposed to it this way or in depth.
Yeah, to Justice's point, the economy is the most important, for the reason it being an NFC gaming play-to-earn game. So if the outsourcing of the development, if the outsourcing of game development is taking place, that's okay, because the economics are already in place for it to be successful, right? So I'm not too worried. Like to just point again, it's the end result that's going to matter, and the development of the game can change and will change along the way. So as long as the economy is not controlled by an third party, where there's potential risks and it's not being thought out to the fullest, then I would be concerned. But if the majority of the base players are going to be playing to earn, and having that in mind, as long as the economy, like we got our paper, the econ paper, everything looks good, and now we just need to be patient and work with the team as investors.
Good stuff. So we had 2 big events this past week. We had the Galactic asset sale. We had the TownHall. Why don't we talk about the Galactic asset sale? And before we start the conversation, I just want to talk about what we expected and what the outcome was. We'll get into the ship piece in a second here, but at a high level, what did you guys think? Was it successful? Was it not successful? What are your thoughts?
I think it was incredibly successful, and I think that they were flexible in the approach, and I think they pivoted when they needed to, and I think they provided information when they needed to. For example, when they realized that there was going to be some lag and things were going to be held up within the marketplace on their site, they produced a doc and instructions for people how to go do it through the Serum order book. There was a lot of the community that within the Discord that were helpful to other people in figuring it out. So all in all, I think the community came together, and I think that the Star Atlas team set the stage for things to go well. And when there were hiccups, they were flexible and they pivoted and they made things happen and they learned from it. I think we'll see changes each time there's a ship rollout.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting, especially how the difference between the Thursday and the Tuesday releases. So on the Thursday, it seemed a lot cleaner, but perhaps that was because there was less demand initially because people knew there would be extra ships. It was all a bit of a mad rush. One thing I would have preferred to be on the first day, because that was the 2 ships I wanted, is to know how much like both of them would have cost, because I did have enough, but I didn't want to buy one of them and not be able to get the bigger one later. So I would have been happy to spend more, but they have changed the way they've done it now. Santiac was announcing the prices, I think it was an hour before, even though there was some problems with the Thimble BIOS. I think they'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Ray, any thoughts?
No, I was just gonna. I always make comparisons of gaming companies with how they release things, as well as NFT projects, because everyone has a different way of doing things. And I could only think how much more money Gala would have made if they did a similar type of release for the avatars. As there's a certain quantity, sure, they released them in phases, but then they, like just mentioned earlier, they just dumped everything after all of the phases of releasing the avatars were complete, when they could have done just this thing for the longer period of time until closer to the game was being released. But it's kind of like day and night, because Star Atlas is creating a game and they're closer to having a mini game, then they sell ships. And Gala, they have nothing close to a game, but they're selling all the NFTs, and then you have to wait. So, that's just for this example. I could make many, not including Gala at all, but just for the purposes of the conversation and talking about them earlier. So I thought it was great. It was smooth. There's always going to be bumps, and Wagner was very punctual with getting on interviews and explaining and helping people along. Right? Not everyone is going to be able to figure it out right away. They're always going to have a portion of the community who's upset and just think they should have done, could have done, and things beforehand. But that's part of our responsibility too, being in the crypto space, being self custody is responsibility of self. So let's get out there, learn, ask questions, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, if we was aiming for perfect, it would take a lot longer.
Right.
The thing that I found interesting is, well, I shouldn't say interesting, and this isn't a criticism because I'm very 100% into Star Atlas, but the idea that your community needs to be, there's kind of a cavalier approach, right? You need to figure it out. This is the crypto community. You figure things out and you solve problems and work with other people. And I think there was a good example of the community showing up to kind of be the community support on voice and kind of walking people through how to do stuff and how to clear stuff. The point I'm getting to is the average gamer, that's going to frustrate the hell out of them. And we know that the gaming community, if there's a game that they're really excited about and it doesn't turn out like they want it to, they get very toxic very quick. So I think once you get into attracting the broad gaming community, a lot of this stuff needs to be fleshed out, because I don't think there's a tolerance to have to learn it.
Yeah, and the community as a whole, you could see this adaptation happening between the first sale on the 7th and the second on the 9th. And the first sale, people were discovering the order book and figuring it out slowly and doing a manual purchase, while those that were savvy were using the order book and putting in an order so that those orders would get snapped up immediately once the sale went live. And so the challenge with that for a lot of people is that once we knew what a price was, the first orders were going to people that actually had higher prices in. That's just the way the order book works. It accepts it first. So one of the things that they're talking about doing, or that they have the actual potential to do in future sales, whether they do this or not, we don't know, but they have the ability to flush the order book right at the time of sale. So that way, anyone that decided, I'm going to put in this bid for 5,000 over for 5 ships, that would get wiped, and they would have to engage in the manual process with everyone else, which may be something that spreads it a little bit to a wider audience of the community. So there's a lot of things they're looking at, and they're looking at the data, and they're adjusting each time as they go. And I think that's all you can really ask.
Yeah, Wagner himself even stated in the town hall that it's not a flippers market, and they're not trying to encourage that at all. And they're doing everything possible to not have that happen. And it's almost inevitable, as people are going to have more money than others and able to buy more and then flip it because they don't need all the ships. So at some point, it's not gonna. It doesn't make sense to pound on, I guess, that point as time goes on, because there's gonna be improvements, I guess, with how they're gonna roll out the different releasing of ships.
Yeah, I know there's going to be a lot of check and adjusts. I think the biggest one for me will be, one, knowing the price up front. I think that's huge. And the other thing that would have been nice to have known, that we learned from the town hall or maybe an interview afterwards, is that there is going to be a finite amount of these ships. I think there was some confusion where people thought these ships were going to be sold into infinity until the campaign was over, and what they sold, but they just came out recently and said that these ships in their current form for this Galactic asset offering won't be sold again for a couple of years, if even that. So now the exclusivity and the rareness of the ships just increased greatly, especially for the people who got the Guardians and some of the higher end ships. Those are going to be unique and highly valued in the game for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and Wagner also mentioned, as I was taking notes on the town hall, not any company is here to teach you how to do everything step by step. So it's the people who are already well versed in operating the crypto space with the wallets, Web3 applications, and dexes or exchanges, and how to put in the different tickers and all these things. If you were already capable and knowledgeable on that, you're ahead of the game, and you should be rewarded by knowing and putting yourself through the time it took to learn it. Right? So if someone's teaching you, you're putting time into learning it from them. You're watching on YouTube, you're learning it. You're taking your time to do that, and you should be rewarded as such. Again, everyone has different amount of money, so some will have more, others will have less. But at the end of the day, this is all a learning experience for the next release of ships, which you will be able to now purchase, or just buy off the secondary market, the ones you missed.
Yeah, definitely. There was another thing that was cleared up this week as well about pilots' licenses and how they may be able to be earned in game. And I know a lot of the captain license people, especially the people who bought it and didn't get it from the poster tiers, were quite annoyed. How much were they going for? It was, I think it is definitely more than 500, wasn't it?
For those of you out there, stop buying them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
You're
going to be able to get it for free. You're going to earn it. And we do not know how many you will need, if it will be bound to an account or if it will be bound to a single crew member. For example, if you need one captain on a 3-man ship, you might have to always have one captain license and add more for every ship you want.
No, they said clearly that if you have a captain's license that you're leveling up, it applies to all captain licensed ships.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jesse.
I was just going to say, for those watching, one of the things that Michael shared on an interview was that if there is anything that is on sale in the secondary market that was a part of posters, and it has not been sold by Star Atlas directly yet, then you absolutely don't know the prices, and chances are you're going to overpay heavily. So you're better off waiting for it to become available directly through Star Atlas.
Yeah, because the people who have them, they're not losing anything if they hold on to them, but they can perhaps double what they put in just by selling it while it's high and then buying it at its lowest when it actually becomes available.
I'm not sure which one. I think Jesse probably brought it up, but there was a comment that was up there a few seconds ago about the asset sale. Jesse, do you have that comment again?
About the ships that are coming?
Yeah. Thank you. So the other thing to consider, and actually is kind of I'm struggling with is we know there's more ships coming. There's ships that we want. I don't know if there's 30 is more than what's on the brochure. That's I would think, right?
Maybe there's quite a few on there.
I'll do a quick count.
But the idea that there's other ships, I mean, some of us have already put in our large investment, and maybe to the point where we may not invest more. I know some of us have bought multiples with the idea of maybe turning them around and buying other ships. But the interesting thing about this whole dynamic right now is we've got a bunch of ships with a set rarity. We've got a bunch of ships that people want to get. Is it more money that's going to be brought in? Or are we going to see some of the current assets go down in value to buy other assets? What do you guys think?
So there are 28 ships on the posters. I counted them up. Sorry.
Okay. Well, to answer your question, Banjo, I think it's going to be a combination of both. I think that a lot of folks that already jumped on are going to start to get tapped out a little bit. I mean, it's like there's a lot of funds out here, but it's not infinite. And then you've got the folks that are in the crypto space that are just getting wind of Star Atlas, or it's one of those things where they heard it mentioned, but now they see the tokens being released, they see the ship sales, they see the buzz. And so now you are going to have some new crypto money coming into the space to capture their portion of it. So I think it's going to be a combination going forward, but there's definitely going to be a lot of new money coming in. And it'll be interesting to watch how that leaderboard shifts. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about the leaderboard in a little while because I think there's a lot of meat there to unpack.
Yep.
But overall, I think it was a success. I think they did a great job compared to some of my other NFT attempts. I don't even call them buys anymore because I haven't had a good NFT buy yet. I think the people who understand how a DEX works or a SEX works, as far as order books and things like that, will be up ahead. But I still think there's opportunity for some of the people who don't understand just to buy on the Star Atlas marketplace. Like the price of the smaller ships, they're almost flat to what they were offered at. So there's still an opportunity to not feel like you're getting taken advantage of on the secondary market. So here's the ships, right? We had, a handful of ships. It looks to be about 9 ships launched on the 7th and the 9th of September. And before we get into the ship-by-ship kind of breakdown, just wanted to kind of call out as of last night where the prices were. Now, these might have changed. So we had the launch of the Opal Jet, on the 7th of September. It was a base launch of $20. It's still sitting at $20, so it's still a deal for people who wanted to get into the game and don't have a lot of money. The Pierce, on the 7th again was the Pierce X5, which was surprisingly popular. I didn't realize how popular that ship was going to be. It's sitting at $10 above spot. The next ship down on the 7th was the OPOD, which I thought was going to be a little bit more, carry more of a premium than it does right now.
I thought so as well.
It seemed like so many people were getting into them. And with the idea that it's a ship that's really going to help you in the beginning of the game, it's interesting it's not carrying more of a premium. But I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that most people wanted that hero as their ship they really wanted on the 7th. And I know we had a number of people who were very excited to get theirs here. And then finally on the 7th, we had the Thripid, which, beautiful ship. It's unique. We've seen a few pictures of it. It's very different than anything else we've seen. So I think the cosmetic piece drives that.
It was the first legendary to go on sale as well.
Oh, yeah. Good point. Very good point. And then the next day we had the X4. We had the Jet, which I think a lot of people are taking because it's fast. We had the Packlight, which I'm genuinely surprised still hadn't sold through almost all of its assets until just late yesterday. Because I see that as being a main money earner in the game at some point. As far
it mentions how profitable it would be if you had one.
Yeah. I mean, we know that resources carry this game, and moving resources around from place to place comes with a freighter ship. So I was really curious that people drove more combat or utility instead of driving freight around. Maybe it's too boring.
Well, one of the things we know is that the game is definitely going to be PvP. And out of all of these ships on here, there is one ship for sure that says, hey, we're not here to talk. And that is that Threpid. That is not like you're not just casually going around the universe. You're there to show up and kick some ass.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it looks that way too, right?
Right, yeah.
So as far as the rarity and the prices, what were your guys' thoughts? Was it fair? Was it not fair? Were the quantities appropriate?
So yeah, I thought it'd be more expensive to get a Calico Guardian for sure. Yeah, and I imagined the Opal Jet would be around the X5 price, which I found quite surprising. But honestly, the fact it was a bit more expensive made me want it even more. Yeah, just it's like a luxury ride. You don't have to worry about. I can zip around the universe pretty much.
Yeah, my opinion on the capital ships, I'm thinking now it's only 5,000 difference from, I guess, the starting amount, which is 25,000, to 30,000. So not much range there. So I'm thinking all of them are going to be roughly around, $30,000. I don't know which one of the four are going to be exactly 25,000, right? Because they all have a great purpose and they're going to have great utility. So, and they're all legendary. So maybe I think that's why the range is so small, because they're kind of closer to 30 than anything, but who knows? Don't take my word on this, not financial advice. And when it comes to the only legendary that we see in the medium ships, it makes sense the price was that much. And like Jess said, having these for the mini game is just going to help you. You're gonna have that advantage, I guess, if you have more of those than someone who has a whole bunch of heroes. You would just, I guess, win just from the stock stats of the ship in a combat fight. But who knows? We just really don't know.
Well, there was a mention in passing, I think it was either on the town hall or directly after, that the rarity of the ship will help drive the value that you return from it as well, right? So It sounded like if you have just 5 small ships that are all common, between common and epic or legendary, you're going to earn a different amount of return based on the rarity of the ship. Did you guys take that away as well?
Yeah. And also that, the other interesting information that was shared is that you can run these in fleets, even as an individual, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I think the people and it'll be curious if you have to manage your fleet for the makeup. Is it just about, does each rarity get a certain number of points, or a size of ship give a number of points and you have to meet a point threshold? Or do you have to have a makeout that has like one attack ship, one freighter, one utility? Does it require a certain setup? Have you guys heard anything about that at all?
Not specifically, but in previous games, not necessarily space games, you would want a diverse team. If you had a mage, a vanguard, or a DPS dealer, so you'd want a diverse enough fleet to be able to, I guess, complete all the missions to earn the maximum rewards. So that just made sense to me as a gamer from the history of other games. So spreading yourself across different cryptos as well as ships within this one particular game is just going to help you earn more over time. Whether the rarity of the ship netted you more, but there's just different ways. I think that's my opinion on that.
It's funny to think about, and as I'm looking at all these ships, is that how this differs from the real world. The real world, the moment you drive something off the lot, it's depreciating in value. That's not the case for these.
Yeah. Unless it's a Jeep, for some reason they never depreciate. Right. The thing I asked in chat, Wagner in chat, that we didn't get a response on is, does the rarity of a ship create any significant game impact, or is it just cosmetic and related to the value that you earn? So if I have like a rare freighter, am I going to be able to do something better in game than if I just had a common freighter? Have you guys heard anything in regards to that?
I imagine you'd be able to take on harder missions. I think there was also mentioned of like a multiplayer function in the mini game. So perhaps if you have a couple ships and you don't have enough to do a full fleet, you could combine with someone else. Or if there's a large mission, you might be able to. Depends on what everybody owns, but you could put like 5 people with a lot of stuff, or like 20 people with a small amount of stuff. So like try and get the same mission done. Yeah, we're all very eager for information.
Yeah, we have Mega Raid Boss in the comments saying there are ship missions expected for each type of ship, including the freight ships. So there's 5 ships in a fleet. That's what was.
And I think they said each faction has 11 quest givers. So that's a lot of, if it's all ship related, that's a lot of different types of missions, or at least 11 between the 3 factions.
Right.
Well, why don't we get into the different ships? We'll talk about who got what, why you got it, what you're excited about it, and what you plan to do with it.
And
we'll
I would
start.
like to say for the record, take everything that anyone ever says with a grain of salt, because the game has started as far as Wagner many times. So just because you're not playing a game with your ship you just purchased, that doesn't mean that the game of politics and sleight of handness and whatever you want to call it hasn't started yet. So
Well-
we'll talk about ships that we have. But
The
do we
game
have?
is most definitely afoot.
Yeah.
Talk about how many
Well,
ships we have, but is that the right amount?
or are we telling you how many we got, like you said, right? So I think it's pretty interesting how much money has been spent, and we are aware, not only within our guild but other guilds as well, some of the capital that has been spent. How do we know that? How do we know that about other guilds? I don't know. But let's go into the ships and talk about the different ones that we bought. So the first one we saw on deck was the Opal. It's expected to be like a small racing ship of some sort. We do know that it can fly into space. I bought a couple extra. Did you guys buy any extras?
Yeah, these are extra small, and I think a lot of them most people. I think if you had posters, you got these anyway. But yeah, I picked up a couple extra myself.
Yeah, this was the first thing that came onto the market, I believe. So I just bought one ASAP to test it out, and I'm glad I did because I learned about Serum.
Yeah, this was a ship that everyone learned about Serum with, right?
Order book test. It was totally an order book test.
In 5 years, it's going to show up on your Facebook memories, right? This is the day I learned about Serum. I think all of us figured out how to settle manually and how to use an order book, starting with this ship. And it's interesting because by the end of the 9th, I think everybody was on Serum, and we didn't see questions about how do we go about buying these assets on the marketplace. We got a question here from Michael. It says, how would one go about getting a pilot's license if they didn't get in on the poster sale? Just secondhand, or will there be more in the future? Who wants to take that on?
Yeah, so if you're purchasing a ship within this time frame before the minigame, when there will be no other ships sold, then you're gonna have your pilot license dropped into your wallet, or it comes with the ship. That's what Wagner's saying. So whether it's a 3-man or a 5-man crew for a capital or for a small whatever size, you'll have the pilot's license to fly that ship, as well as a full tank of gas and what else? And modules that come with the ship.
I believe you get crew members as well, which is quite an interesting thought, because what if you buy 100 X4s? Does that mean you get 100 crew members? Because for the same price of that, you could get, let's say, a Calico, and that's 5 people confirmed. So depending on the value of life, it could be quite economical.
Yeah, being an X4 doesn't need a crew, man. I'm thinking it's probably going to be related to the ships that you get, what additional things you get.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, it was 2 or more. If it has a need for 2 or more passengers, then you get the license. I don't think the single seaters need a license or will get a license.
Right. Yeah, and I was just gonna say, and for those who haven't bought any ships before the minigame, they're gonna have to unfortunately buy the pilot's license. But that's why Wagner stresses the point not to buy any licenses off the secondary market, because those were from the poster drop rewards, and they're gonna be overpriced. So
the short answer here is that if you got a ship, you'll get a license. If you didn't get a ship, you can still buy a license later. It doesn't have to be on the secondary market now. That they will become available directly from Star Atlas.
Right. Thanks.
And if we think about scholars, I think what we're going to see is people who are buying ships, to get quote unquote scholars. I think most everyone knows what that means, renting out their ships to people to play for them. I think if the scholars or the person who's managing the scholars gifts a pilot's license, that gives that scholar something actually to level up on their own and generate real value that they get to keep. And maybe down the line, when you start to see a pecking order in the people who have these licenses and are working for people, you might choose a level 10 pilot's license over a level 5 because they've put more time into the game, and they might be able to ask for more of a return on any work that they're doing for you.
Yeah, I'm bringing a question up just to clarify this point. So if you have bought a ship from the extra small range, you won't get a license because you don't need one to ride them. Extra small to small range, you will get a pilot license, and medium plus, they will all require 3 people. So a captain is kind of like a crew leader, pretty much. You will need a captain in every medium ship. So you will be given a captain's license if you get it before they start like becoming like where you have to earn it in game.
So as it stands right now, we have 2 assets that were sold at extra small that won't be getting licensed. Anything else you've bought above that will be getting, whether it's a pilot or a captain's. And I would imagine that up in the capital or higher, there's also another level of license. I thought I remember seeing something that was attributed to something higher than a captain's license. All right, so let's get into the next ship, the X5. Now, this was not on my list to buy at first, but I FOMO'd in. Everyone started talking about them in chats, and I felt like I needed to have one. How about you guys?
Yeah. Definitely a very cool ship, just the way it can flip around and just do all them different positions. But one thing I did notice that fighter ships, small fighter ships, for example, I don't think they have warp. The second mode of the X5 is it puts all of its thrusters behind it and it goes into like the speed mode, but I don't think that is warp. But all the racers, I think they come with warp.
I hadn't seen that distinction. I was under the impression that everything but the X4 had warp, or X4 and the OPOD had warp capability on it.
Yeah, it's one of them things that would be cleared up by a bit more information, but they said that's coming soon. They're getting all these images ready for each ship that they release. They want there to be at least a couple, so you know what you're getting. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm happy.
Can you imagine seeing this thing in battle with the different flight configurations? And if it can do that on the fly, as different fleets fight other fleets, you're going to have these tactics that are coming out. And you're just watching fleets of these do different formations with different setups is going to be just interesting to watch. Yeah, a swarm, really. I keep linking it back to Battlestar Galactica because that seemed to have some of the most, huge space battles that seemed real life. And I can just picture this in the middle of that battle. Any other thoughts on Pierce on the X5?
Yeah, the skin for radium is quite cool. It's a bit of a shame you need to put 2,000 towards the liquidity pool to be able to get involved. But yeah,
well, I just moved some money into that from one liquidity pool into another to get it. I figured why not? It carries a little risk because you're locking it up for a week. In the scope of crypto world, that could mean a big thing or it could mean nothing at all. What I like about that skin, or what I can't tell about it, is if it's iridescent. Does it actually glow, or is it just a purple skin?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it receives stealth. This ship is kind of a fighter. It doesn't really seem like it would, especially the Pierce line. They don't seem very stealthy, but yeah, it would give you away. But some people would like that.
Yeah, some show-offs, right?
Yeah, you're spending this amount of money on a skin. Make it rainbowy.
And we talked last week about how there was a mock-up of this being the police car, and I think it said the Peace Council uses this as its security vessel. So I think we've got some opportunities to see this show up as an NPC vehicle as well. The next ship we saw, which is a favorite of a lot of different people, was the Visas OPOD. I know I got one. This was something that I was triggered from before the sale even started, just because it fits my play style. But who else got a Visas OPOD, and what do you hope to do with it?
Well, it's the only one that's listed as a data runner, as you can see here by all of these antennas and receptors and things. That it's obviously one that's designed to gather some data. So while we don't yet know what that means, I think there's a lot of value in using it for exploration, for discovering, for kind of scouting out a planet. And so, it was priced right for sure. What did it come out of the gate at? Like 1,500?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 1,500.
I was thinking it was going to be twice that.
Yeah, I planned for at least 2,500 as my initial bid, and was very happy when I was able to get in a little bit cheaper than that. I think what's interesting right now is we're seeing some conflicting information on who manufactures the ship. Is it an Oni ship or is it an Ulster ship? And we're seeing documents that say both. So any thoughts on that?
I saw an image today and actually shared it within the guild that that shows this ship with all Ulster on it. About 6 of them on board. So
Should I find that and get it up on screen?
Yeah, that'd be interesting to share.
No problem. Just one second.
So what does that say? Is it just saying that all races can use all ships, or were they just comfortably at home because they're the ones that built it?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me that this would be an Oni ship just based on the stealth and the scanning, perks within the faction. And I had originally thought that I'd be going Oni race and then flying this ship, but now I'm in the position of needing to wait to pick a race until I know what this ship is, to kind of capitalize on any synergies between the race and the technology.
Yeah, I think
Go ahead, man.
No, I was always siding with this being an AI ship, so Uster, because of just all the components and cameras and scanning. Like that seems more of an AI type of ship. But I can see the confusion as it looks like an Ani alien race ship. But we'll soon find out.
Yeah, and they really haven't been clear on who makes what ships. I would love to see something that indicates which race, which ship, especially if they are creating that synergy between the race and the technology. What's interesting about this picture is the cockpit looks, at least in the rendering here, looks way bigger than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. And I think we have another picture here that shows kind of the scale, right? So if you look at the size of the human there compared to the ship, that is a big ship. That's nothing that's small.
Right. Yes, and it shows 2 seats in the main galley, so it does leave the question of if it will have 3, if it will require a captain's license, even though it's a medium. There could be just like an engineer job or like someone working the observation platform in the back. But
did we get a 3-man crew for this, or I didn't see anything that had crew? It could be 5, right?
So I'm talking about that last image. We saw 2 seats at the front and 2 inside. Yeah.
Got it. I thought there might be, other rooms that it might be scanning rooms, because if I recall correctly, it said it had 2 separate scanning, was it stations or rooms within the kind of the NFT description? I can't recall.
Yeah. So there's this bubble underneath the cockpit, and it looks like an observation platform. It looks like that has like 360 view underneath. They could be used for like just stealthily going over an enemy planet and just recording all of the data and then just flying off, which does sound really cool. That could be profitable, I guess, by guilds paying for that service.
Yeah. I definitely wanted it to be an Oni ship, but even if it's Ooster, I'm still jazzed for it. I can't wait to play it.
So,
could you bring that cockpit view back up again?
Sure.
So Mega Raid Boss in the comments is saying that on the image itself, it says Uster on the bottom.
Yeah, in the bottom right.
Yeah.
Bottom left, I mean, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we were so captivated by the artwork in the ship.
That right there gave us the answer.
There you go.
I just wonder though, because we originally heard that the Thesis was an Ooster ship company, right? And then I don't know where over time, maybe we just made the connection between stealth and scanning and Oni because it seemed to align, or did we hear that somewhere else? Maybe we just created this idea in our head that it would be an Oni ship. Right. But it seems to have some love and some fans out in Star Atlas because it was a pretty popular buy at first. But I'm looking forward to using it, that's for sure. Indeed. Now the ship that it seems to carry a lot of love in Rome for sure. The Compact Hero. So what did this start out at from a price wise?
3,500. Yeah.
And what did well, I know a couple of us got one. I did not get one of these, but I know a few of you did. And if you did, why'd you get it?
So a medium multi-role just seems like a general, like if you're going to get one ship, might as well be this. The whole size is really impressive. It has vertical takeoff and landing and life support systems. Just everything I think you would need to be like driving around in style and also surviving deep space if that is in your risk tolerance. Like it's an option with this ship. Everything it looks like.
Well, I picked it up because it fits nicely inside of a Guardian.
It does seem to be the perfect away ship, right? You know, every space show has an away ship, and this is definitely what I would call an away ship. And good flex there, Jesse. Did you buy 3 of these by any chance?
For anyone listening out there,
Did you buy one for each? So the idea that the ship carries a lot of cargo, I think it's important because it's going to allow people to move. You know, maybe they fly this out of their Calico Guardian, and then they fly, you know, to a planet, and then they pull out the Opal jet or maybe a smaller ship that has some speed to go fly around. So it seems like we're starting to see the nesting of ships within ships. Do we have a size of ship that this ship can hold?
So a extra small ship can fit inside of that hull. I asked specifically, and Buntius gave me an answer. So at the moment, that would be a X5, the motorbike. Might be able to fit a couple in there, but if we do get another extra small, that could also fit inside, and you'd be able to just cargo it around.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Even the attention of detail of putting the elevator in the ship, I think that's awesome. I can't wait to see this rendered in a 3D environment where we'll be able to go into it. Anybody else get this ship and want to talk about it?
Yeah, there's quite a cool perspective where you can see like on the steps up towards the like where the 2 pilot seats are. It's like an elevated platform. There's a lot of spaces in this ship where it seems like you can just fit things. Like it's, I think, 39 meters long and 10 meters tall.
That's awesome. It's almost as wide as it is long, too, which I found was pretty interesting. That's a big ship.
Big wings.
And you said a crew of 5?
Yeah. 10 missile components. 10 missiles and 6 weapon components, I think. Yeah.
Very cool. Any drones?
I'm not sure. It has specifically like pointed them out on the other ships where there are some. I know on the Calico Guardian it does come with some of the big ones.
Yeah, I know the OPOD, the Visas OPOD comes with drones, and I know the Guardian comes with drones. We'll talk about that. I just saw somebody pop up a comment there. Was that something that somebody wanted to share?
They're just sharing reasons why they got them.
Oh, they wanted to flip for some money for a bigger ship, huh?
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people doing it. I mean, we saw that there's a lot of multiples out there, and there's still a lot of interest in those larger ships.
Yeah, my personal opinion is that right now, like if you buy it at the launch price, because the way they do it, there's like a chunk at the original price, and on the really desirable ships, they just instantly disappear, and you have to pay like a bit more premium.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So if you do get in at that price originally, then yeah, you will make a good profit. But as we get further and further away from these original ships, unless you buy back in, you're not actually, like, they're going to stop selling as much every time, because the people who are going to hold them, they're not going to move at all. It's going to be like a smaller and smaller percentage every time as more strong hands get added to the pool.
Yeah, the people who really want the ship versus flipping it. That's probably what some of these smaller releases is going to drive price. Sorry, Ray, I didn't mean to jump on you.
Not at all. But yeah, to everyone's point, these are NFTs, and just like with art project NFTs, there's only a finite amount, and the sellers and flippers, they soon leave the market because they're only here for a moment's time or maybe a week or two to see, and then the people who do believe in the project and are excited to play and hold will hold. And with that comes appreciation of price, because there's going to be less people letting go of these down the road. So, you know, for the flippers, congratulations. But for the people who are going to stay for the long term, congratulations, because your ship will ultimately be that much more in the future.
Yeah, sorry, Jesse, go on.
I was just going to say that a mistake that I see a lot of people making is that the ship goes on sale. You miss the sale. So then you FOMO in immediately following the sale. And the price at that point, because of everyone FOMOing in, goes up exponentially. But in every instance, it seems to at some point come back down a bit. So if you do miss out on the sale, I would actually wait a little bit before making your purchase.
Yeah, or even try and get in on another ship. And if you get that one, then maybe you could get 2 of the original one you wanted.
Right.
Or if it's skyrocketed, you might be able to catch back up.
And all of this, not financial advice, just opinions of Romans of Metaverse Nomad.
Yeah,
Right.
We always advise to hold.
Who are you going to go to anyway? Jesse told me.
We don't have anything to give. Yeah.
I'm crying because I'm happy.
So one of the things that we didn't talk about with the smaller ships is the idea, we talked about people buying ships to flip, but we saw quite a few people buying ships to burn as well, right? So a lot of people were buying the X4s and the X5s, and we're talking about how that's going to be their tool to explore deep space and take the risk of that ship getting shot down. So I know a number of people that we've talked to have done that. Did any of you buy ships with the intention of burning, or just, I'm going to fly here and see what happens, and if it gets blown up, who cares?
Yeah, so since I could fit loads of motorbikes into my compact, that's my plan, ideally. I'm just going to take my compact somewhere, and if I go somewhere dangerous, I'll just get the bike out and go. Just keep it out of danger, ideally.
So warp in, drop the bike, warp out? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, definitely. Like you could, it's like paratroopers almost. Imagine 4 X4s in there if they could fit, and just all like zooming out the back and then flying off, getting to the spotlight within seconds.
I can already see it in my head, like bringing that ship back on board in the heat, right? You're getting attacked, and compact warps in, you get in the cargo hold, and then you warp out. It's like a movie.
Yeah. It's a shame. It's a shame the hole doesn't open up at the back, so you could just literally like ride straight forward and start. Oh, that'd be cool.
Well, this is kind of getting way out into the 3D game, but it would be cool in the 3D game if this is in space above a planet, and you're bringing your bike in, and you open the cargo hold and shoot the bike in, and then take off. There's going to be a lot of interesting things that happen. Eve was primarily a space-based game, but now we're going to have some terrestrial play as well. And how is that dynamic going to be with the ships in space versus the ships on ground, or that can go into the normal atmosphere? So exciting! This is a great ship. I think this is going to be a sleeper for a lot of people. I think those of you like Fancy who bought this up front with some foresight, I think you're going to find that this ship is going to be one of the powerhouses out in space.
Yeah, it definitely seems like medium multi-role is ideal. Just if you're going to pick one thing. Like, depends on your budget, obviously, but multi-role, yeah, great.
Yeah, I agree. Then we came to the Ogrica, the Thripid. So this one, I think, is a ship that everyone would love to have, but just can't afford to have. So, we know this is the biggest fighter that was released, I think, or the one that's classified as a fighter. What did it start around? Does anybody remember?
9,000. I think it was right around exactly 9 or just below, something like that.
And this was it that much? Well, it's a beautiful ship. It speaks to different races and different cultures. I think it's one of the ones that stand out as this is not human. The other ones all can be prescribed to a human archetype, if you will. But this one speaks either alien or Ooster. What do you guys think? Is this an alien ship or an Ooster ship?
It doesn't even have a cargo bay. This thing is just ready to show up and do some destruction.
Although it does, I think it said it has nice accommodations inside on the description, right? So we can attack in luxury. There was an art piece, I don't have it loaded up, of the interior of the ship, and it looks just as foreign as the exterior. So this is definitely not mud. I would say Oni. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Oni.
Yeah.
And we know the Visosopod is Ooster, and Pierce looks like human. Yeah, so there's obvious ones, but there's also ones like that weird triangle thing on the brochure.
Oh, the Ohm.
Yeah,
The
Yeah.
Ohm, that's a freighter, I believe. Yeah. The
The
Rainbow
Om-
Freighter.
Yeah. Or is it the Chi? I can't recall. One of them's a fighter, one's a freighter. They're both named Dome.
Yeah.
So if you think about this ship, what do you think the intent is here? You think it's straight battle? Do you think it's meant to be kind of the destroyer of the space fleet? What do you think the purpose of this vehicle is?
Destruction.
Yeah.
This is a straight up fighter that's either defending or it's attacking, but its sole purpose here is just to wreak havoc. It's yeah.
yeah. When you get to this range and you're going for combat-oriented ships, if other people have similar combat things, it just becomes about leveling out the scales and just deterring each other's violence. Really. Like, you could use these quite conservatively and still have a massive influence, just flying through a universe or... Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I really can't wait to see this one. I know we haven't done a major size comparison. We're going to do that, but this just seems like if you see a fleet of these warping in, you know it's go time, right? They're not here to play around. They're here to either send a message or just wipe stuff out.
I'm like curious what the cockpit and interior look like on this thing, because it's really difficult to tell from these images.
Yeah, without knowing the scale, the true scale, and I would assume it's somewhere in the center. But then again, that center also looks like a great place for a massive weapon as well.
Yeah.
And that the piece of art that I saw with the interior wasn't clear. It wasn't cockpit based. It looked more like a central room, like a technical central room or something.
And are these energy weapons versus projectiles?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It has that sense, right? It looks like an energy weapon.
Yeah.
But we know there's going to be a little bit of both. I'm curious if the types of weapons will be race based as well. Will we see some kinetic weapons in the mud domain, bullets and rockets, maybe energy in the AI, maybe something that's biomechanical in the Oni. It would be interesting to see. Just one of those things that we think about and we can theory craft about, but it'll be so exciting when we finally know for sure.
Right.
So, anybody else have any thoughts on the Ogrica?
Just that it's the first legendary, and again, curious just really to know. Like, I would imagine, like, when the developers are categorizing these ships based on feature function, I mean, there's probably something pretty spectacular about this ship that we will eventually find out, whether that's its ability to maneuver or if it's just got sheer firepower compared to other things in its class or size to get that legendary status.
Yeah, it just looks phenomenal, and I think it's going to be just one of the powerhouses of a battlefield, no matter which faction is owning it or running it.
Yeah.
Ray, do you have something? You look like you might be going off mute there for a second.
Oh no, I'm okay. Yeah, so one of the commenters, they're saying the picture itself is a swarm of these, and
Good point.
And that, there you go. The larger the numbers, the more success you'll have, I guess, when it comes to just taking down anything. I wonder what they're shooting at. Capital ship, maybe?
Oh, they're all shooting at one direction, that's for sure.
Yeah,
What would be pretty fantastic is that if at some point, if you have a fleet or you're going to combat with a group of your guild members, we talked once before about the concept is they're going to be friendly fire. Well, I would think, again, we're talking 600 years in the future, and technology should be such that you shouldn't be able to lock on to one of your friendlies. So I also wonder if there'd be some type of group tactics, about these three are targeting, like maybe from one commander within a fleet, you can kind of, assign targets. That would be pretty cool.
Based on what I've been watching with Eve, that's part of the fleet commander job, or maybe some of their sub commanders, is really identifying target A, B, and C and directing the fleet to concentrate fire on those areas. I think I think people are underestimating the PvP aspect of this game because it's going to be huge, but there's also a significant tactical piece to the fighting. And the people who have tactical or combat experience, both within EVE or maybe from a military aspect, right?
Or in Rome.
Yeah, or in Rome. They're going to have a kind of a tactical advantage until some of these tactics start getting fleshed out. That's why I think people who come from EVE have kind of a little bit of an advantage in the fighting overall. So on the September 9th, we started the next round of the sales. The first one we had was the X4. I think we've talked about this one quite a bit. It's kind of the entry-level ship. It is a combat vehicle. It has some weaponry on the sides and on the bottom.
Burner.
I think what's that?
Burner.
Burner. Yeah, this is a burner for sure. I think what confused a lot of people is the idea that this is a space-capable ship, right? So most people attribute space travel and being outside to having to wear a spacesuit. And we know that's probably the case for humans, unless there's some sort of genetic modifications they have within the game to ride without a spacesuit. But that's not entirely clear for the Oni or the Ooster, right? That they would need a spacesuit to fly in space. So I'm happy that this is a space-bound vehicle because I think it could be an awesome way. I mean, just more contributions to the battle, right? Will radar be able to see this ship? Will it be able to be shot down by a capital ship, or are their weapons too big? What do you guys think?
I don't know. I'm looking at this design here, and I can see the forward weapons. I think I would like to install some aft weapons as well for things tailing me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You seem pretty vulnerable if there's nothing covering you other than the shield that might be around you.
Yeah, one thing I do like about this is how it has a bit of storage space. Even just like a bit on this, that would be quite cool.
Cup holder.
Yeah,
I think.
A first aid kit.
Well, that adds to the idea that it's going to be a ship that you might be able to rent out for small jobs, right? Maybe they can take small resources from one place to another. I think the other thing I saw in one of the design documents for this vehicle is there's a shield generator on it. So there is going to be some sort of defensive capability on this as well. I think we should expect, just looking at other space shows and movies, that all the ships will have some sort of shield generation as a defense capability.
Yeah.
So I bought like 4 of these for burners. I mean, I knew I was going to want to get out into deep space and look at things just to see what I can see. Anyone else buy them for burners?
So this won't really be able to get out to deep space unless it's taken there, because it's only really intended for like a small jump to another planet or maybe 2. But one thing about this game is the amount of fuel that will be needed to just get to places, really. Like, it will be very expensive to run a spaceship that goes from one side of the universe to the other constantly, but you'll be able to like offset that with everything you earn. So,
well, it'd be interesting to see if you could fit one of these into like an O-pod, or maybe we'll go back to the example we used with the Compact Hero: warp in, drop a bunch off, and then warp out. Because then you wouldn't have the fuel limitation, right? You'd be able to get into a planetary system and probably jump around from planet to planet looking around.
Yeah, it'd be like a manned drone.
Yeah, a manned drone. That's exactly what it would be. And they've been releasing some skins. I sold mine because I wasn't particularly fond of the way they looked, but I know the skin game is kind of where this is showing up on the X4, or maybe it was the Opal Jet. So I imagine a lot of cool skins for this. The one we saw in that video was obviously very black and shiny. We have a question from, it looks like Ultimate 65. By burner, do you mean destroyed? Your ship is gone? And yes, we know that in deep space, if you get destroyed, your NFT gets burned. So the idea is to buy cheaper ships with the intention of not being upset if they get lost. Jesse, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The price point is appropriate for the risk.
Yeah. You can spend $20 at McDonald's, or you can go fly in deep space and, feel better and explore more.
You know what we still don't know about that, though, is, okay, so you lose a ship out there. Now, on bigger ships, you have an escape pod. In this thing, you really don't. So what are you just drifting? Does your avatar get cooked as well, or you have 9 lives? So there's still some interesting things there that we just don't know.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking, how do you get your I guess your spirit back to another body? And it seems to me that I thought I read something with the escape pods where it actually downloads your consciousness into another body. Did anyone read anything like that, or do you think you physically have to be carried from deep space back into safe space if you die?
I think it'd be quite reasonable to just have like an explanation, like there's a building where there's a bunch of clones. You just have to pay a bit to print a new body, but you don't have anything.
Wasn't that an E thing?
I'm not sure, honestly. It's just like a sci-fi explanation you can apply to just strange events. It's quite easy.
Yeah, and Wagner did mention on a town hall, I think it was probably the last one, that they're not just going to have no other options for you if you're going to get out there, and only having one ship that you might not want to just risk as a burner, because that's all you could afford. So I guess within the game's market, you'll be able to buy, I guess, an extra life. If you had hearts in playing Zelda, you'd be able to buy an extra heart. So if you did die, I guess your ship would still lose a percentage of its resources that it might have been carrying, or a module or two, or just take damage like in the secondary zone. But you wouldn't die, and your NFT essentially wouldn't be burned. So that's all going to be available to be purchased. And he didn't go into pricing, but he did mention that.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of ideas in chat about how it's going to work as well. I mean, something has to happen. The idea that you're just going to be stuck in an escape pod in deep space until somebody picks you up doesn't seem too enticing for compelling gameplay,
It's going to be a while. Those Snickers commercials.
Yeah.
It's like that episode of Futurama where Bender's drifting through space and a little asteroid hits him and it has life on it and it grows and it's like thousands of years pass. just waiting. Yeah. Good episode.
And this is another ship that's kept its value, its entry value. So if somebody, doesn't have a lot of money but wants to get involved, they can buy this for $20 and play in the game, which I think is great. I think $20 barrier to entry is not hard at all. It's close enough to free to play as you need. Next ship on the 9th was one of the sexiest ships out there. It was the Opal Jet. I'm really interested in hearing the story between why they went with naming conventions of Opal Jet and Opal Jet.
So this
is
is
so
my
damn
theory.
confusing.
Opal Jet is the smaller one. It has one jet engine. Opal Jet has two engines.
That makes sense.
Yeah, as soon as I made that connection, I didn't have any problem anymore.
Yeah, clear the confusion. For all of you out there, spread the word.
Yeah. But it's a classy looking ship. You can see they're gearing it towards like this high end, car, right? Like a Rolls or a some.
Earth.
Yeah. It really does have a lot of aesthetics that's pulled from like the automotive industry. Even the inside has that automotive callback, and I think we called this last week the Snoopmobile or something. But for those of us who grew up looking at cars like that, there's a lot of nostalgia there. I mean, that was my childhood, seeing people drive cars around that had interiors that looked like that. And I think that calls to a lot of people something different than just having a cool ship, right?
Right.
And this is going to be the Lambo crowd, right? This is the people who want Lambos. And I think the NFT said the fastest ship in the metaverse. Is that accurate, or am I just misreading it?
Yeah, it's quite similar to that. I'm not sure if they will make more, but it does look like a very, very solid option for someone who does not like combat. You will be able to just quickly just turn a corner, just sort of like run circles around them, because it does look that maneuverable. Like you could just warp off at any time. I think they also mentioned something in the past about how you might have like to be set to aggressive to be able to attack people, and if someone's set to passive, then imagine this ship with an extra shield on top. You'd pretty much be able to just do whatever you want, unless you get like locked down in the middle of a swarm.
Yeah,
I got one simply because I wanted something I wanted the fastest racer. I thought it looked cool. If I need to warp from one place to another, I can get into this and do it quickly. I didn't have any intention of doing this one to burn or to flip. it was just something that was relatively cheap to add to the garage, so to speak. How about you guys?
Yeah, I see this as a sports car, a luxury sports car, for having two jets. You could pimp it out, and like what Fancy said, you'll be protected more or less, um, with that extra shield. And if you're not aggressive, then you'll be able to explore, I guess, more safely with this versus an X5.
And I don't think there's any armaments on this that I've seen. Has anyone seen any picture with weapons?
No, I don't think there is any. I think this is the space ride you use after hours when you're showing up at the club on Planet X.
But if you are in a race, it might be nice to have like a couple boosters just to distract them.
Well, they did say some of the races would have combat related to them, didn't they?
Yeah.
It'll be interesting. I mean, more to come on that, but I'm sure we'll see some modifications. But I'm excited to fly that one around the planetary system for sure. The next ship that was on sale was the Packlight, and this is one that I FOMO'd into pretty heavily. I was on the fence at first, but the more I thought about how am I going to generate revenue with my assets, this one just seemed like a no-brainer. So I got it for simply to generate revenue for myself. How about you guys?
I like the old school aesthetics here. This thing just reminds me of a tugboat, you know. And then they actually have those, those nostalgic cargo containers there, man. Things just haven't changed in 600 years.
The most reliable containers in the world, in the universe.
Yep.
So I think it was the skin from the poster on this one right here, from Tier 4, I believe.
Yeah.
You also get the Ogrika threaded. But yeah, it is a very cool aesthetic. I also like the flag on top of there. That gives me hope for the Rome flag showing up somewhere someday.
Oh, nice. Very nice. You know, I did see a picture somewhere of the interior of this, and it's definitely meant for a rustic lifestyle, right? The interior looks worn and beaten up. I think it says something about living a kind of along the waves, the slow waves of travel or something. So I think this is purely just a beast of burden.
Yeah.
I don't expect there to be any armaments on it. It seems like for what it is, it should be able to pack more. I see 4 containers there, maybe 5 in the back there. But it says it can be configured differently. And it also makes it sound like it can be repaired pretty easily as well.
Yeah.
And
so
then
it's called
ahead.
the Thimble BIOS, and that stands for build your own ship. So as you were saying, it's customizable. It is interesting to see like the different ways. Perhaps you'll have to adapt your thimble to if you want to do freight out in space, you'll need a different modification than if you want to just go around on the planet and collect everything. Right. You might need another one if you want to go from the planet to outer space, because in real life this is a problem. They're trying to get around how you can have one ship that does all of the appropriate things to become like an interplanetary ship.
You know, one other thing too is that we could the scale here could actually be deceptive. Like we associate one of those containers with what we know an actual cargo container to be, but maybe it's not. You know, maybe it's larger. So hard to say.
Yeah. Shout outs to Enoch and Kevin. They just mentioned how there's blasters on the Opal Jet, both in the forward and rear. Or the description of the ship itself. So,
there you go. So does anyone? I'm not going to say what I see, but look at the face of that ship, and what do you see?
I see ET, phone home.
It's exactly what I see, man. I see that's the ET ship now. I can't see anything else.
That's funny.
But it also said something about slinging cargo on the outside of it as well. So even if those are normal size cargo containers, and I think you're right, Jesse, they're probably bigger. But the idea that you can pack on more on the outside, and I think it said with mycelium netting, which is basically mushrooms or fungus, right?
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe that this may be an Oni ship. Just making the connection to alien races and kind of spores.
That'd be cool. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I could see this anywhere, the thimble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wild card.
Ray, you had something to say?
No, I was just going to say, depending on the modules, like Fancy said earlier, and how you're going to develop it or evolve the ship and upgrade the ship to deal with whatever you need. You know, there might be some alien modules that fit for this, and makes it look different and have a different visual effect. But we don't know.
Yeah,
It
I'm
looks
actually
human.
excited.
It looks like it's a mud, just from the look of it. But
Yeah, it definitely fits kind of the aesthetic of a lot of different space shows of cargo ships, right? Just just beat to hell, kind of like cargo ships today, right? They look pretty when they first launch, but they get beat to hell over time, and I think they did a good job of demonstrating wear on these ships as well. The final ship of the sale, I think, is the granddaddy of all of them. So far is the Pierce, the Calico Guardian, and I got to be honest, this ship is way bigger than I thought. I didn't think this ship was going to be as big as it is, and just for size comparison, we know it's the same size as the Enterprise, right? The USS Enterprise, about almost 400 meters in length. What was your guys' thoughts on the ship and the price? What was the price, by the way?
So it's 30. I can't remember.
it was
I didn't buy
2000.
It came out at just under 30,000. It was like
Yeah.
29,850 or something like that. But that actually didn't matter because this ship was highly anticipated by a lot of folks that were ready to pick it up. And so the order books started at 35 and then quickly dropped from there. I'd say about the first 20 or so orders on the order book, not actual orders, because some of those orders were for 5 or more. We're well over 30.
Wow, it's a beautiful ship, though. I got to tell you, it just looks gorgeous. It's so big compared to what I thought it was. We see the drones there in the pictures. Go ahead.
You
Man.
compared it to the Enterprise, and basically the Enterprise is a lot skinnier compared to this. It's the same length, but it's got a lot more meat on the bones.
Yeah.
Like these drones in the pictures, they're massive, I believe. They're like the highest tier of drones you can get in the game, and they will only fit inside a Calico.
There's
Well,
a picture.
at this state,
Yeah. Of a
in the
person
showroom.
standing next to one.
Oh, I haven't seen this one. That's cool.
Yeah, so the drones, it looks like it has drones on two sides, and Jesse just shared that there is a picture of a person standing next to one of these drones. It's as tall as a person. So these are huge drones. They look like missiles, but I'm seeing at least probably 15 or maybe 14 there. And that looks like it's on one side of the ship. So this is going to be a real searching, it's going to have a real function in searching out stuff, I think.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
It's going to be doing all of that in style. Get the bubbly out.
To me, absolutely the sexiest ship in the entire fleet. I mean, yeah, you've got commander ships like the C-11, which we haven't even seen go to sale yet, that are obviously going to be a whole different class. But as far as from what's already been sold all the way up to commander class, this thing is just the most versatile ship there is out there. So yeah, a lot of people, we saw 220 of them get snatched up in a matter of seconds. They went pretty quick. I don't know how long the sale lasted, but it went in a hurry. There's probably half of that was already on the order book, so it just went boom. And if you read the description for this thing, they even tout it as, hey, if there's one ship that's going to get you comfortably through your entire space career, you can't go wrong with this ship. I mean, it's even got it even has like entertainment theater rooms for the crew, and it's hydroponic section. It's just got all kinds of stuff. It's decked out for long space exploration.
Yeah, it definitely sounds overpowered, and Michael thinks that this with the Oni buff, so imagine like adding stealth to any Calico. That would be like just the perfect all-rounder. It sounds almost too good to be true, quite honestly.
Right, there'll definitely be a nerf coming soon, but don't tell anyone that this is the plan. All right, but jokes aside, I wanted to mention how if you're in Rome, we'll be going live via the theater room, I guess, in the capital ship itself. And if you're in the game, we might be streaming. And you'll be able to watch in-game, still do your mining, as Wagner alluded to. You'll be able to do everything what you're doing on your computer, but essentially in the room or in the theater in the Calico.
Yeah, and you'll be able to see all the spaceships fly past. I remember Michael talking about that in the past. It's going to be very versatile what you can do with this type of metaverse function.
Yeah, I can't wait till we're broadcasting in the metaverse. Go ahead, Ray.
For sure. I'm curious to know, out of the other capital ships that are yet to be released, are they going to go as fast? I'm curious to see how fast those sell off, depending on, because these are more faction specific ships. So if you're a human, this would be the most ideal for you because you can max this out with the faction buff. So
do you think this is human though? I don't know if this is a human ship.
I think so, because we have the for the capital ships, we have the transport, the only legendary transport, which is named as the same. That's Ani, right? Obrika.
Oh, okay.
And that's going to be Ani, obviously. And then we have the Pierce 9. I guess so. The
name is very human. The name itself is very human.
Yeah,
I give it that. Yeah.
Yeah, but who knows?
But Pierce would. Oh, there's the ship. Yeah, that's a great view. I didn't load that one up.
Yeah, I went and found it.
I mean, that just looks like the last thing you want to see if you're in a battle, right? That thing looks just like it's going to tear you up.
The size of the people in there, they're minute, honestly. Makes you question how many people they could fit in and how many levels there would be. This could potentially hold a couple hundred at least, maybe low 4 digits.
Well, I was surprised that the cockpit only had seats for 5. I would have expected a ship like that to have a lot more, but maybe there's more utility outside of the cockpit for crew.
The big orbital disc at the top, it looks like a command center. Really, like a pilot would only be taking orders from the owner or like the person in charge, unless they actually own it. And I'm not sure the person would. It all depends on how it works out, but. If a person owns a ship like that, are they going to be able to have the time to actually utilize it 24/7, or are you going to have to designate people to continuously just keep it going?
Well, and this also looks like it's geared for something. Like it looks like the wings fanned out, the armaments might have popped out. It looks like there might be other functions for this ship where maybe it condenses down for flight or for defense. So it looks like there might be different modes.
I don't know if you guys read the description, but it was pretty thorough. It offered up quite a bit of useful information if you guys want to hear it.
Yeah.
It says the Calico's flagship multi-role exploration vessel, the Guardian, is a marvel of modern spaceship technology. Clean, sporty, and full of utility. This capital ship can be the home of an extra-large crew destined to comb the furthest reaches of the known and unknown sectors of our galactic neighborhood. All imaginable creature comforts and sustainable bio-practices on board, this ship put the crew of any Guardian at ease as they explore for new life and new biomes. Packed with 2 extra-large chambers of explorer drones and dual cartography navigation rooms, the Guardian also doubles as the space charting headquarters for any and all exploration or data validation fleets. Comes standard with a double-decker theater for keeping the crew entertained with the latest the Metaverse has to offer in live, hyper-live, and streaming entertainment. Stacked with massive turret cannons for heavy defense, if you have to choose only one ship to get you through your entire space life and career, you cannot possibly go wrong with the Calico Guardian.
Move over, crazy. Star Wars.
I love that.
So what stood out to me is it's going to explore. Sorry, Benjo.
No, you're good, man.
And there's also a greenhouse. I forget what photo that we seen, or it's in our Discord, that there's a greenhouse. So you're literally living on the ship. It's going to be it's going to be deep space and medium space and any space. You'll just be ready to go.
This really is the proxy to like the Starship Enterprise, right? I mean, it's got everything that you would expect to see on like a Star Trek ship. I mean, it's self-sustaining, it's exploratory, huge crew, self-supporting weapon-wise. It's probably going to have. I would assume people would kit it up with some degree of cloaking. It's a fantastic ship. I just wish I had the money to buy one.
That's a good question. Someone's asking, like, you think you have to exchange the drones to store a hero? So, like, maybe maybe you fill one cargo bay, or does it have a separate one? Do you know anything there, Fancy?
So it looks like the missiles came from where them wings are opening up right there, doesn't it? Or does it come from like a bit to the right of the cannons? If you're looking at the left,
let's take a look.
right above.
Yeah, so
Or below.
above. So I don't really think a compact would be able to enter through that. It would probably be up through the backside. That would be my best guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does say it fits snugly in there. I'm not sure if that means it has like an
Bag.
exact specifications for this ship, and you can fit it in there, and you'll be able to fit other things in there with it at the same time, just because it fits so nicely. And like perhaps if you had a Visa So Pod, you would be only able to fit that in there, and it'd be like quite hard to maneuver about. But we don't know the specifications really.
Have we heard anything about drones? I mean, when I think of drone, I immediately think go out and find stuff, right? Go out and look for new worlds, new resources. Have we heard anything about the drones also being like just dropping and kind of pinging for new ships coming in?
That might be a role of satellites. They're categorized as a charm, so perhaps they just orbit around a ship that they're assigned to, and they will increase the scanning range. But no information about that either.
Yeah, I saw that as well with the charm in the satellite. It caught me off guard actually, because I thought it was going to be more of a like a mini ship, if you will, or something that could be placed somewhere. It looks like it's just going to be something you attach to a ship, like you said, and it gives some sort of perk.
Yeah, like if you look at this picture, it kind of looks like you can have someone just walk through a corridor up into the gunner, and then they'll sit in that room and be able to control that gun, perhaps, or maybe it's done by just one person on board.
That's
but
awesome.
with so many people on board, it would require multiple roles, I assume.
What's also interesting here as I'm looking at this is like, you think about like, what is do you recall these? Are they one-time use? Do you just send them and then they're constantly sending data back? Because why would you have need for this? Because there's about 20 right here. There's
Yeah,
about
and that's
20 to
one side,
22.
so 40.
If you got them on both sides, 40 of those things. What are you doing with 40 of those things? You would think that maybe you use them and recall them, or maybe it's one-time use, and so you're slowly running out, and that's why you're stockpiling them.
Yeah, I mean, like you got to consider like the real applications of this. Like I know I'm not sure the exact numbers, but like war is really expensive. Just like one missile in real life can be like hundreds of thousands. How much would each of these be? And would they all be stocked up? So would you have like a supply of 40 free shots before you have to start paying?
Right.
And I think
Maybe they're needed for a network or a perimeter as well. So maybe if you want to establish a secure zone, you drop them in around you, and they create some sort of perimeter that allows you better understanding of who's coming into your area. Or if you want to communicate with your space station in medium space, maybe you have to drop it every so many light years or kilometers to be able to communicate back.
Yeah, I see them being multi-role drones, and if there's only a specific amount that does defensive, with a weapon that could shoot, and then others could be just scanning. So it could be either way. You could have to create and build them after using them for whatever purposes you want them to be, or they're multi-purpose, and you just send them out to do whatever job that they need to do.
Yeah, so I did find another picture in Discord by at DieselDoc, and I don't think any of us have seen it before, so you're going to get our first impressions.
Awesome.
Live reaction.
Man, look at that repair ship there. What is that, a C9?
R8, I believe.
R8.
Maybe. I'll check now.
That is a crispy photo. That looks really nice.
Yeah, you can see the X5s,
Detailed.
like the spies, like the size relative. It'd be cool if there was like a human somewhere in there.
Well, we know we see the X5s in a couple different configurations there too. If you look, we've got the X configuration and kind of the thing that looks more like a TIE fighter, or excuse me, an X-wing fighter. And then we've got the repair ship, which privately we were just discussing and realizing how big that ship really is. It's far bigger than I think we thought originally.
Yeah. So one stat I found really, really impressive. You see them two fuel drums at the front. The width between them is the same as the length of the Calico Guardian, pretty much.
So 30 meters, is that what it is?
Yeah. So from one to the other, you can imagine the size of a Calico.
Yeah.
Oh, you said Calico Guardian. I think you mean the Hero.
Hero Compact. Yeah. Sorry.
Right.
So I'm assuming that ship has a docking bay or a landing zone of some sort. I think if I've seen that ship in a different picture, the front end with that little bump is kind of like a little runway out of the ship. And we've seen this ship in different forms with hull tanks on it too, and that's something that we haven't really discussed. But do hull tanks come with the ship, or are they something that the person needs to buy in addition? But the hull tanks seem to be. I originally thought they were just something that was attached to the ship and maybe moved around the ship, but we've seen pictures where they're flying around the ship as well. But that's a great picture. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's great. We got Shared Axie in the comment section saying, "Did I understand correctly that you can control more than one ship at a time?" And you will be able to, as you'll have a fleet of ships yourself. I think I forget the number, maybe 5 ships at any one time you can control. But for the missions that are going to be taking place in the minigame, if you didn't have a guild that you're a part of, and you had more than one ship, you would be able to send, depending on what's required or what's allowed for that particular mission, you'll be able to send more than one of your ships to take care and accomplish that mission.
Yeah, so looking at this hull tank now, before I was really impressed with how big it is, but as it's not like a fighter, it does look a bit like a liability on a battlefield. Look how big it is compared to the other ones that would be spotted and focused down, like target A.
Yeah. So,
I
Go ahead,
was going to
Jesse.
say, okay.
I was going to say, once we're done with this, I got a couple other images that support the Guardian. So, but let's carry on with this one.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think there's distinct visual differences with all of these ships, just so you know when you're approaching or in the distance, depending how large the ship is, you'll know what you're up against. So the colors could all be black, but there's going to be distinct structural differences that are visual enough for you to just, I guess, determine how many Guardians they have with that very circular back end versus, I guess, any other one.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, because a lot of this combat, I think a lot of us assume combat coming from other MMOs is you're up close and personal.
Yeah.
But some of this combat will be specs on a screen for some of the long range combat, right? You won't be able to see what they are, and hopefully there'll be some sort of identifier that lets you know what type of ship they are. But if I'm a person who's flying in on this and I'm in an Ogrica and I'm going to attack something in this picture, what do you guys think you attack first? I say the repair ship. What do you think?
Well, if you can target specific things, perhaps you'd focus the turrets first, or yeah, it depends what their X5s would do if they like charge at you or try and protect the R rate.
Yeah, I'm thinking you'd have to get those X5s out the way, and you just try to get them as far away as possible from the main cannons of the largest ship there, or even the refuel or repair ship. And then it would be a lengthy process, a tedious one at that, very time consuming if there was going to be, I guess, just this fleet you see there, because you'd have to have enough Ogrikas plus them being skillful as a pilot to even take out the X5s, and then there's repairs going on at the same time, and then you got the freaking drones on top of the ship itself that you'd have to then disable to even have enough time and firepower, all the while you're burning your fuel. So it's just like there's so many things that you're going to have to be juggling. So the planning is definitely going to be needed. Planning is important.
Yeah, and any unsuccessful mission will essentially be costing you money because you're not earning money.
Right. And that's what's going to prevent a lot of people from fighting in the first place. Just the fact that they don't know what it's going to take to do that, the cost and all.
Yeah, if everybody's a predator, nobody's going to eat. Sorry, Andrew, go on.
Well, it's interesting that if you look at other games, I know Eve is really the only game we have to refer back to at a game of this size. Is towards the end game, if you will, or where they're at right now. Corporations are building ships for people if they lose one. So, granted, I know this is more of a connected to real world value, but if corporations get to the point where they're building X5s like they're candy, really the idea of going into a battle carries less risk, right? If a corporation can say, go fight, you're going to lose, or if you get blown up, we'll cover you with a new ship. I think we'll get there eventually. So I think ship manufacturing will have not only a value in selling ships, but also a value in replenishing your corporation ships. Jesse, you said you had some other pictures there. Why don't you bring them up?
All right. So this first image here was the one we talked about that kind of gives you an idea of the human in scale up against one of these drones. So yeah, it kind of gives you some perspective from that side. And then here I found this other one, which shows some drones landing. So again, this makes me wonder, like, can these things be recalled? So then if that's the case, and these are probes that are pretty much sensors that you're sending down, what is their other function? Because at this point, if they can be recalled, why would you need 40 unless they're sending data back long range? So maybe you're just going through some far reach solar system and just planting them all over.
Yeah, maybe they're like landing on the ground, pinching a bit of dirt, and then flying back up like the Mars rover is.
Yeah.
When do you drop in? Go ahead, Ray.
I was going to mention, Kevin just posted in the comments that drones might be able to mine. So yeah, to a certain extent, they might have a small capacity for storage and mining. So you could have essentially a mining, what do you call it, like a traveling mining operation if you ever needed extra resources while you're going around.
Well, especially in a gas cloud or something like that. Maybe that's another way that they could extract resources.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So then one other ship view here, which is one that kind of sheds a little bit of light on some of the other things that are happening on this here, is you can see up top a section for cartography. You can see all the different turrets. You can see that in the back there, they show you that you got a couple of different levels for the engine. You've got a crew area, hydroponics, up closer towards the middle. You got an armory, a section for your escape pods, and then the bridge, and then the crew quarters that are next to the bridge. And then over there it also says transport. So yeah, there's something else that you can drop in there.
Transport. That's an interesting one. Do you think that's like Star Trek transport, or do you think that's a cargo bay for ships?
That's to get from one point to the other side of the ship in a shorter amount of time.
That could be.
Crew members.
That makes sense too.
That's definitely like a railway, just to go down and to get to places faster. If there was needing anyone to man the turrets, there's going to be a red alert, and everyone get on the transport, get to where you got to go.
Battle stations.
Yeah. Another ship I can't wait to see rendered in 3D and actually move around the inside of it. Right. It's just going to be beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. Wait. So one thing I just uploaded that could be transport is this. It looks like a transport pod labeled as a limousine. Looks kind of like a weapons turret, but somebody gets in it and it just shoots off into space.
I thought that was an escape pod.
Yeah, it's labeled as a rescue boat as well. It looks like it has different names everywhere.
So the difference would be, instead of just sitting there, waiting for someone to come get you, this thing just like, no, it takes you somewhere. Maybe it's
it can aim you. It's like a challenge. Yeah, that's good. And
I wonder why there's a distinction between limousine and regular. Is it limousine like a legendary escape pod?
Maybe a limousine is flashier. Yeah, I don't know. It's one of them things. Yeah.
Does that have armament on it?
I can't.
It's hard to tell. This could be. It could be like enough room for one person to sit down, like lie down horizontally, or it could be big enough for like 5 people inside. We have no idea.
I think the picture in the bottom left is where they sit on the C9 or the R9.
Yeah, see that photo right there in the bottom left shows it to be much larger. Yeah. So I think it could possibly hold people sitting in a seated position, maybe like a round table of 3 or 4, even 5, maybe.
Like a boat, like a lifeboat. That actually makes sense. That's a multi-seat escape lifeboat of some sort.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a transport. Maybe it's like a crew transport as well.
Sure. From one ship to another.
Yeah, Kevin's confirming that there is room for a Calico compact hero in a Calico Guardian. Yeah, it's 100%.
It just makes sense. It's the perfect away vehicle.
Yeah, and it makes it really cool, like how they've done Tier 4 and 5. Tier 5 got the Calico Guardian and the Calico Hero Compact. So they pretty much have the complete setup ready to go already. And Tier 4, they had the Ogrika Thripid and the Thimble Bios Packlight. So that's mining and fighting the set from the beginning. Like you can see their thought process from the beginning, even though we didn't. They were just like words on a page to us at that point.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we are 2 hours and 11 minutes in. I did have the town hall to cover. Maybe we can just kind of give our thoughts on the town hall, because this is one of the better ones, and we did pull away some good information from this town hall from the development team. What was your guys' biggest takeaway from the town hall?
So they went back on what they said about what was released being 3% of the total supply. Like when the Calico Compact Hero was released, it went up like almost immediately, like to 7,000, and it released at like 3.5. And just after that, Michael went on to Kagi-jan's stream, and he like kind of confirmed that it was 3%. But then later he went back to it in the town hall, and it's good that he heard everyone's opinion on it, because a lot of people were quite annoyed. Like if you buy something and it's like there's only 500 of them, and then the creator says 3% of them have been released, that means who knows how many of them are, but it's not rare anymore, and that's not really what you bought. So I was happy on that. Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited about that piece as well. I think anyone wants their investments to increase in value, not go down in value. I know they said this isn't a flippers game or a flippers market, but I think there still is some benefit to having the rarity within the ships, especially for people who come into the game 5 years from now and want that old school day one launch ship.
Right.
It just expresses to me the interest that the team, or just Wagner himself or whoever, has of the community themselves. So compared to other games, again, there's just more of an interest and priority of the community and the investors than there are across the space. It all varies, but it was great to hear that as well for the people who get in early.
I'm glad they took on the issue of the privacy issues as well, right? We know that the leaderboards have some concerns, and I still think there's a little bit of a cavalier approach about the privacy issues. I think, yes, it's clear that all this stuff is on a blockchain. It can all be found by people. But I'm of the mindset we don't make it easier for people to find that information. I think there's value in having some sort of ranking structure with leaderboards, both individual, guild, and things like that. But at the end of the day, you don't want to make it easier for somebody to find you if your wallet's out there, and you've got people who are putting their public faces on this game, right? We're no exception. We're putting ourselves out there as people who play this game, and the more we put ourselves out there, the easier it is to be able to find personal information on us. So I hope they really take that into heart and do their best to mask either wallet numbers or game names and things like that.
Yeah, with that said, make sure the whole space is just flooded with scams. So do not put in your wallet address into any DMs you get on Discord. No one will ask you for money, not any one of us from Rome. All right, the Council of Rome will never ask you for any money. So make sure that you double, triple check the sources of who's reaching out to you, asking you for anything other than how you're doing today. Don't give no numbers or letters or anything, but please, and make sure your crypto outside of just these games or stored on a hardware wallet, which is the best way to go. So you don't want to get wrecked.
Any other thoughts?
Also, we were correct with that leak that we didn't know was official, and sure enough it was. So congrats on that.
So the only difference that we saw, and going back to what Ray said, there was some information that was leaked regarding factions and what their strengths were, and the leak was accurate. There was some graphics images that were a little bit different. I think somebody mentioned that one of the graphics was from a different game. But the perks came out the same. That's what the Oni with stealth and scanning. We had the humans with speed and armament, and then we had the Ooster with defense, and I forget the other one. Maneuverability. All which seem fantastic, right? I think those are all good rock, paper, scissors things to play off each other. But I think it exposes something that we've seen with the ship brochure and this leak, that there is maybe a method to the Star Atlas team about pushing out these little leaks to get some momentum building. And then within a week or two later, they come out with the additional documents. Was there anything else on that around faction? I think there was some other things around faction that were clarified based on some of the Q&A. Does anyone want to cover some of the clarifications around faction?
One of the things that was made abundantly clear by Michael was that due to the way that their DACs are going to work, that a guild is going to want to choose a single faction. But it's going to be interesting because there are going to be guilds that believe that they have a model that works across all factions with multiple wallets and all that sort of thing. But it'll be interesting to see how well that strategy plays out. But yeah, for the most part, at least us at Rome, we are choosing a single faction, and we have chose Oni. So that is the faction of Rome.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I think the idea of splitting a guild between 3 different factions, if you look 5-10 years down the line, that might actually play out well, but it's going to be a struggle to get there because you're automatically going to be viewed as an outsider if you know that this particular guild or corporation has assets or faction people in other factions. And then what happens when, you've got your Oni component of your guild getting problems or getting shot up, and your faction brothers from other factions show up? It's going to turn into a nightmare because are you going to attack? Who do you attack at that point, right? If you're Rome and you're defending something within Oni, and you've got this guild with an Oni component and a Mud component, why would we allow the Mud components free pass, right, through our faction?
Yeah.
So I think they're going to get, whoever does this is going to get a lot of pushback from their guild base, because that's how I would see it, and that's how I would argue it, is we're spreading ourselves too thin and we're creating instant targets whenever we fly into to support our brothers in another faction.
Yeah, like you said, it's a great mid-game, long-game strategy, but the risk and exposure at the very beginning is just too great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for many of these types of guilds that have different strategies, it'll make sense just from the natural flow of how the game is being released and what's being given to us as far as what we're able to do in the games, in the mini game. So I think there's going to be a lot of swapping of members, jumping around guilds, which is natural, and it's encouraged as well from my point of view, because not everyone is going to be satisfied with a particular guild's plan of action and structure. But if you're interested in Rome's, come join us. Check it out.
Well, it seems like there's more benefit in just recognizing some of the larger organizations in the different factions and building relationships with them. Not necessarily up front, because you don't know who's going to show up in what way in other factions. But mid-game, end-game, seems like the benefits are more in alliances and treaties there than trying to spread yourself thin in the beginning of the game. Because that's a recipe for just getting your ass kicked, in my opinion. Any other takeaways from the town hall? There was a lot of information that was put out. We had ship missions. They talked about skins. Any other takeaways?
We have kind of progressively talked about things from the podcast beginning. But, yeah, there was a lot of stuff and a lot of good questions this week. I think it was quite interesting how they decided to do the skins. Like some of them are going to be able to be applied multiple times. Some of them are one-time use. Do we remember the distinction? Is it like poster skins that get on the?
Well, I think he said something about the lower tiered ones would be one-time use and the higher tiered ones would be multi-use. Like all the exclusives from the poster sale, he implied that those would be multi-use and could be resold. But something that might come out that's a common skin is a one-time burn. And I respect that. I think that provides some exclusivity for some skins and, makes it cheaper if you just want to change out the look of your ship every once in a while with some common skins.
So if your ship burns while it's equipped with a skin, do you lose the skin as well?
I say yes. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
That's part of the game. It's the risk. But I would like a skin that would be like we had in one of our squad channels. Jess, Banjo, if you want to go into that. But I proposed the team create a skin that you would earn from the battles that you would win. So with all the bodies that you go through over the course of time, you can unlock the achievement and win the reward of a skin that would have bodies of the victims chained up to the front of your ship. A visual, just the corpses of the bodies is there, and it wouldn't affect the ship at all or its components or anything. It's just a visual effect that shows that if you see a ship with bodies on the outside of it, they are a seasoned veteran when it comes to just killing.
It would take a lot of bodies for a capital.
Yeah, for a Guardian, right? Well, all you got to start with one.
Like buttons on a windshield.
Yeah, there you go. But I'm a big fan of the show Firefly and Reavers, which is in like this cannibalistic raiding tribe in space in Firefly. They decorate their ships with the bodies and blood of their defeated. And maybe even ate them. I think we can skip the eating part. But if we can get a decal that has human bodies chained to the front of my ship, I'm 100% bought in. I will buy it. I will buy it for sure.
You gotta earn it, man. You gotta earn it.
Yeah, and it has to be earned. It can't just be something you spend $100 on and throw on your ship. We've got a couple other competing guilds, and I will stack bodies on my ship.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, any last thoughts on play to earn industry, Star Atlas? We're hitting at around 2 hours and 22 minutes. I know we've got some things coming up. We've got some, sales around names, vanity names. We've got potentially some other assets opening up every couple days. Any last thoughts before we close the day?
I'm excited for registration. That seems like it's going to be one of the next things around the corner. And then shortly thereafter, faction selection. The way I understand it, you'll be able to register before you choose your faction. And then, of course, there's going to be guild registration. It's starting to unfold now, and it feels great because we were waiting for a long time, grabbing intel, but now we're at that place where we're starting to hit these milestones where things are starting to happen and it's coming to life. So this is exciting.
I think what's really interesting and is really starting to play, and I think Michael said this on the town hall, is the game has already started. People are buying assets. Guilds are starting to create and become more fleshed out. They're starting to interact differently with each other, both directly and indirectly. There is definitely a game that has started in the community of people who are going to be playing this game, and that's the thing that I'm most intrigued about right now, because you get bits and pieces of what other guilds are talking about, and maybe they talk on open mic on the Discord at Star Atlas. And you really get a sense for where the culture's coming from and how they're going to show up and how they view other people. It's interesting. Some people view us as a threat, and some people view us as not a threat because they have a misunderstanding about Metaverse Nomads collectively. And I guess I would just candidly say you can consider us a threat within the Oni faction. So it's exciting to see the intrigue start to and the history really of the game start before the game ever even launches.
Starting to form for sure.
Yeah.
So if you see Michael there is acknowledging that we do have a new application process for Rome that's a bit different. So maybe explain that a bit. Yeah, sure. When you go to that link there and you join our Discord, you essentially become a nomad within the guild. It's an opportunity for you to check us out, for our citizens to check you out. And then if it's something, hey, you know what, I want to be a part of this guild, if that's kind of where you decide you want to go, then you actually fill out the short application process. We learn a little bit more about you. And at that point, you become a prospect. And one of our citizens who will become your sponsor reaches out to you. And away you go. So that's the initial onboarding process, what you can expect once you pop in. But you don't even have to fill out that form if you just want to jump in and check us out. But that would be your next step if you wanted to progress from there.
Fantastic. Well, I think that ends the 6th episode of our Metaverse Nomads podcast. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Please like and subscribe. We'll be here every Sunday giving you the updates for Star Atlas and other play-to-earn games within the community. As you can see, we like to talk about the games. We're not shy of being critical about the things that we do and think that may not work. So I think there's a healthy respect for the fact that we also have an open eye to the games that we look at. We'll be here next week again with hopefully the full crew. Until then, we'll see you later.